So I like to shoot videos in the break because of the music that they play, and because like they play like older like folky type of music, Sinatra type of music. And I had I had basically a batshit nuts video that I posted, and I tried to put it on TikTok, and they wouldn't let me put it on there because of copyright issues, which is I did look up the copyright rules, and the rules say you can use other people's music, like in the background or whatever, as long as you're not like selling, like the song or yourself, like unless you're selling it as a part of your, content or whatever, or name or whatever that you can. So I'm not sure why TikTok actually wouldn't let me put that video on there, but it is more of a TikTok video than a YouTube video. But it was one night when I there was just some crazy ass shit that was going on that I just can't to this day have to take time to process. Like, but what came out of that conversation that I was having with myself and my camera, or myself, um, it was a reflection of what was going on and some of the choices, that I was being pressured to make. And something came out of me telling me this isn't aligned with your in-depth values. Even if it was, and that's, really another topic I would love to unpack is like decisions made under the influence or with the promise of some kind of mind altering, let's see, mind altering padding, or like and just how, like really unpack like the like how a lot of our demographics are, really probably actually intelligent enough to make, these paradigm shifts work for everyone on multiple levels. However, part of, like, of course, like the demeaning and the war that people have on drug addicts already, and like the like just like the collective agreement to utilize that as a scapegoat, utilize those folks as a scapegoat. And how many people, like that actually do have the control, but kind of don't, they can't. And so those are the ones that are making the decisions that, oh, oh yeah, no, they'll never get it. Oh no, they'll never change. I'm just like, and I've been kind of worn down with some of the trying to work out the tech aspects of really going full throttle with like a self-made career. And it actually, when it as it unfolds, it's like I'm like, wow, like it really is kind of true with, like those phrases those cliche God phrases are kind of true. And then, like for AA people, like Clancy's, rose colored glasses, he's like, hold on to your fork. And apparently I lost my fork, whatever, but I doubt it at the same time. At least that was subliminally suggested to me. I have a feeling my fork is very much around and will be for a long time. But anyway, yeah, like in terms of some of the things that are expected around the holidays, like, okay, so I have like mischievous guides, like they, like it, and, I used to do body talk. I used to take body, like, um, certified to do body talk practitioner, to be a body talk practitioner. And the lady who was teaching us, actually, I almost kind of wonder if those are, like, our guides are part of that same, like, that's how we connect. They're a part of that same, like, those soul teams. And because you always have a yin and a yang with those teams. And she would describe some of the stuff that they would show her before a class and stuff. And I just remembered today because, like, like I'll hear like funny shit like out of nowhere, and it's usually some funny dumb shit about somebody that I'm next to. And I'm just like, you guys gotta stop this. Stop it. And then the question is like, well, how much of this is like stuff I want to say, but it's not politically correct, like some, like that inner child, like desire to say what you see, or, like, or to make some kind of joke, to regulate what you see. And that's kind of what I realized too, is like, a lot of times when people are rude and crude, it's a form of emotional regulation. And in the ways that on, like on the meta and the web, in the ways that some folks are expressing how they feel about some of those expressions, I just wonder, do you know that you're not really getting what I'm assuming? You are saying stuff like, well, if they, like, that's not an excuse for them to, act or react, to be that way. And then my assumption is that an expression for the intention to have it stop, or to have that person actually change the behavior. And I would say, like, in the terms of, like, a phrase like that to me is just like, it's just more subtle shaming. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I started being aware of that when I do that, and I started catching myself doing that. I was like, oh, this is, like, no wonder I don't get, like, the result that I'm looking for, because of the way that I am communicating for this type of abuse to subside or stop. And then it's so, it's like personal, impersonal, because it's on here. Like, I can pour in warm, fuzzy feelings to you right now and talk great to you, or be really fucking angry and, do this to you, and then turn it off and never be connected with it again. And I feel, like, at first, and I kind of got addicted to, I feel like I got addicted to being chewed out online a lot, and was wondering why my life wasn't changing. Because I would look at, like, I would look up these tarot card readings and stuff. And, like, and it was just like one bash after another, like, about, like, multiple personality types and group types. And I'm like, oh my God, no, like, like, when they started kind of coming through it, I'm just like, that's why. That's why I don't like it, like, that's why, I mean, And then it helped me understand, because like I was reacting out of character or context as well, or what I really feel in my heart, and it took me a long time. And I don't think that was an accident, that it took me so long to get that, like some of these are performances, of people. And I don't think that was an accident. And but I'm coming through to where, like I'm more accepting with, the unseen guidance, and working with weaving that into an everyday lifestyle. And one of the reasons why I'm coming on, main reasons, the music. I'm just finding stuff to talk about right now, and I do have stuff written down to talk about. However, I kind of like sometimes what happens on the fly. When things are just coming out of your mouth and you're not really knowing what you're saying, a lot of that is channeling. I've taken a class, a spiritual class or a psychic class, that where it was suggested that channeling didn't exist. And when I wore that belief, it created a splitting within me, because it didn't know how to acknowledge the behaviors that was out of context or out of character for me. And then when you have an elder religious, ultra religious background, you've ever been spiritually abused, you've ever just been abused, there's a tendency for, one, for survival, to overcorrect yourself or bash yourself for those behaviors, you know. And so I don't think it was an accident either that I got natty guides that do dumb shit that would, like if I was to act on it, it would really be embarrassing. And I have acted on some of that stuff, and it is embarrassing. But it gave me a foundation in, like in how to kind of disconnect from the societal norm and how we would approach a person with mental illness or a disability, because moving forward, able-bodied people are going to need to, like operate within the context that these folks are just as able as you. Some of them, yes, they need teams. Some of them need a little bit more support. But because of our innovation and innovative strategies, these folks are just as capable of, if not more, than you are on an individual level. So some of the things, the old agreements that we've made around these types of people, especially in the scientists and the medical communities, we need to reel it back a little bit, because on top of that, these agreements have been going on a long time, and people have been really successful with them for a very long time. And now we're adding technology, tech science to the mix. And it would be awesome to have these things be weaved in rather than completely destroyed, because that is another understanding with highly intelligent tools. Like you get to play as long as like they'll see how long you fucking take that shit, and then it ends up getting a kibosh. I know our standing societal dialogue is like, oh no, it never changes, but actually it does. And it's really subtle. And just like you can tell stories, you better believe. So does, like the energetics or the ancestral beings that have to babysit you, you know? And so, like, this is just kind of a little light reminder to be like, especially if you're a practitioner or a tech guru or a techie and you're getting burnt out to the point where, it feels like when, like that you can't really be genuine about uplifting the planet or yourself or the earth. Like, I had to just like, it's been a few years since I've been in that type of work. And I definitely, because I was studying stuff, like spiritual stuff that will bring you full frontal to exactly who you are and what you do. And that was a shock to me because I had already went through years of looking at this stuff, telling my stories, and being connected with the like with the groups, and some of the reasons why they get into these practices, and realizing like, oh fuck, realizing I'm getting totally different subtleties than these folks, but I'm still in this connection. And what happened with that is it took me through my addictions, and it helped me understand why certain people would make certain choices, especially when you have a split second to make those decisions. And it's pretty intense. And like my new baseline is like, I don't really trust anybody who doesn't have compassion for that. I mean, like, that tells me they know this stuff on a, that's what was offered to me in all of this. And I'm at that place where I appreciate it now. Like like I can palate it and I understand it and I get it. However, in terms of actually understanding what empathy and compassion and understanding is taking me some time, because I don't, like, and I do. I'm naturally an understanding person. However, having to learn through that layer of the behaviors that come along with it and the survival mechanisms that crop up, even though you're being offered something good or some, another pathway or whatever. Like, it helps me understand that survival trigger that one would have, and what baffles people that like are watching but totally disconnected. Like, they're not connected to you, and you have to actually articulate that in order for them to understand. But if they're shutting you down and say, oh no, that's just uncalled for, like, um just because you're not doing it full frontal, full face, there are some things that are happening in these rooms, realms, paradigms, dimensions that are highly abusive, and they're happening, they're at the hands of people that you would least expect. And so, in a way where, like, in exploring some of this stuff, in terms of like, like, if you're really in tune to that stuff, it can get really sticky really fast, and reactivity can be hard to tone down, and so I don't know really, like, how I'm proceeding with some of these understandings. I know I definitely need to, officialize writing more and practice on it being as articulate with the way that I write, and, like, and refine articulating, I call it circle jerk, like, there's good stuff in what a talker has to say, or a talker who talks in circles. There's great, valuable things in there. You do have to be in tune to have the ability to understand what the hell they're saying. And a lot of times, abusers and victims of abusers are attracted to each other because of that extra intuitive ability. And then when you have whole societies, like in medieval times, validating you to your face, but it's not really happening. That's where, and then you're expected to be accountable as well. Like, just take some of those things into consideration. If this is, if you feel like I'm just telling on you, this is not a video for you. This is for the average intuitive that just don't fucking get it, and that may have a chance to actually thrive, utilizing these avenues, and and participating in some of this art, for the benefit of their lives and their families' lives, you know. So I don't know who this is on the speaker, but like, that's why I decided just to turn this on, is because this place plays, this type of music is very nostalgic for me, even though there is a background of, trauma and drama for people of color with this type of stuff. I still love art, and I love the expression that it comes from, even though there's underlying messages with it. And that's another reason why I'm doing this, is to just let you know, like, you have the ability to enjoy being intentional. When you're intentional and you're enjoying something like this, you get to unhook and unbind those underlying intentions, and for those of you that are still carrying the torch for your family lines, or your clubs or your groups, I just encourage you to kind of, start easing off of that. Figure out who you are as an individual and align with your preferences, because you were gifted this beautiful body, powerful body, to have the ability to enjoy exploration. And when we are not on crusades or witch hunts, or, techie freaking, whatever the fuck that shit is, like, I mean, like, I've realized, like, whoa, like, there's a lot to maintain and continue and to live for. And it is possible for, really, like, I'm going to just be where I'm at in my lane, is those who live with addiction, who may have some violent offender type of stuff. I hope that, like, those that know how to work with sexual offenders, like, may find some of these and apply some of the, like, or, like, have the ability to apply some of these techniques, so that they may have more hope and inspiration in helping those folks as well. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, I used to get on my own nerves with the universal law stuff. And then we have all kinds of versions of them too. I'm telling you what, if you don't know universal laws, just know, like, everything flows, everything exists, and free will. Like, there's a free will, there's a way that we dance with each other in order to get what we need. And a person's free will, a lot of why we have the institutions, establishments, forms of employment, is to, teams, team sports, all of that stuff is to resolve the karma of slavery and, like in war, and not dealing with it, as we go. And then, like the more clever we get, the more, you start learning strategies just about like not owning your shit. You went through how many years of a business plan to sweep your shit under the rug when you could have taken that year to own your shit, like, and maybe give up your specialized, like certificate, and probably going to make more money telling your own story at this point. And I, like, and that's kind of where I realize, like, mobsters, like because like spirituality isn't only, colonization, crusades, or Holocaust. There's a lot of clever shit with it when you can see it all. And like, and I only get glimpses, but the stuff that I do see, I'm just like, whoa, that exists. And when you know how to manage it, it's a lot less intimidating. And when you know how to get through your old belief systems and your cellular programming, it gets even better. But yes, it takes some work. And no, you don't have to be broke. I'm still working through those ideations and those beliefs and those blocks and those loops. But I know in the depths of my soul that I don't have to live like this, and but because I chose to experience this, it is taking me some time to work through and out of, which helped me connect with that aspect that gets to describe this to you. And so the idea, like, just take some of these old gangsters, mobsters, like, I'm not familiar with, I'm actually really frustrated and almost done with Gmail, or Google. I really am. Like, I'm not understanding that concept, and it doesn't align with that gangster aspect of me, and I don't really align with the violence of like of those cultures. However, what I do align with is some of these people telling their stories and offering solutions and cooking good food, and like sharing, like how you could take care of yourself, because another aspect or reason why somebody might flip shit, especially when you're fucking with their frequency and stuff, is their level of nutrition. Are they receiving a level of nutrition that their body needs? That is definitely a factor, in terms of somebody brain and physiology and nervous system having the ability to be intelligent, like, and I think we put ourselves in the hands of specialists so much when these folks miss the mark, or we realize that they can't really do not really much, if anything, and it is up to me that is very it's traumatic. It's a trigger within itself. And so, my goal is to get the baseline of the basics. Because no, we don't all have to do or be or say the same things, but when we understand the universal agreement as a whole, that's when this stuff gets really awesome, rather than a trauma or more body counts and shit like that. Like, bullshit. Like, there's adults out there complaining about our kids. I'm fucking embarrassed, as a grown up. I'm embarrassed, and at some of the ways that some of these folks would consider a woman or a man, makes me double embarrassed. So life is good and it can be, but it is going to take some work on an individual level, and having the ability to own your shit, process through it, help other people do that, and then understand, like the agreements, the real agreements, not the poor agreements that, makes you like somebody's bitch, but the agreements on a universal level on how you remember how to proceed, when you're done playing, when you're done playing with your energy, your body, experience, your play. So definitely, like have I don't think people were doing it on purpose, but I've definitely been a part of, like other people's stories that I look back and I was like, oh, they were trying to tell me the whole time that that was my role in their life. And if I would have known that to begin with, I would have never ever went down that path with them. So it's imperative that we start being more clear, because when we can connect on a like that's when we get to do what we want. That's where the real freedom comes in. And I'm telling you, like the so-called freedom that we're thinking that we have when we just go blah, 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 or drink ourselves to death, or you know corral people like in this fucking stacks, like that's not freedom, and nobody's free in that. Like, hello, no one. You may get some money to help you feel better about what's going on, but that's not freedom, and I just know myself. I just know myself, like a full-on participation in destroying other people's lives. I would need to be high every day too. It's probably why the medical system was created. Theoretically, it's just shit I ponder and overthink on that keeps me from actually making money. But the music's nice. Have a good night. It's Saturday night. I did miss a Fabtabulous car show where there were pickup trucks with Christmas lights on them. And working my way out of ignorance every day, and working through the triggers of listening to subtleties that may have not been for me or mine to begin with to work out. And and working through just telling you my story so that you may have a better understanding of why or where some of this shit comes from, because it is very interwoven with spirituality. And it's a trauma to the naked, to the man's naked eye. But when you look into it, and when I start taking those steps towards having the ability to turn it into gold, it's magical. It's a magical fucking story. I just and I realized too why, like, because I really was getting an urgency. That's why I was like throwing all these videos up and trying, like, because like I was like, well, if they're just up and they're accessible, or if it is part of a collective that just downloads it or whatever, at least it's out there and it's being told, like some of this stuff that I assume people need, to proceed, because some folks jumped without knowing what the fuck they're doing. And then when you realize there's other humans involved in making those decisions and not their souls, or not their, like not the intelligence that's made their completed process to be here to guide you, that's when I was like, oh no, oh no, yes, very clever. However, like, this is not good. This is like, you know, and it involved people that I care about deeply, it involves them, and not in a favorable manner, So that's just another magical benefit of having those awarenesses as well, is that yes, I got treated like shit. Yes, I did. However, why and how I hung in there, why and how a victim of domestic violence would hang in there, is cellular memories and soul agreements. We should be taught this type of education probably in daycare with our finger paints and shit, because it matters. And and yes, we will still prevail and continue on, but sure, I guess if we want to still play the game, like, let's reduce population. Oh, we need population control, and the planet needs a steward. Mother Earth is not baby Jesus, and our children are definitely not baby Jesus. You know, FYI. So, if you find this when you're, I don't give a fuck what you've done or how you've done it, especially in the past 10 years. I'm sorry that you had to go through all that. And, like, I send out vibes that will help you understand yourself better and put you in a dimension or a paradigm that is very loving and welcoming to you, while you get to complete your soul agreements and reasons why you have a body to begin with. And for those of you that are listening to this with a very cushy, loving, abundant lifestyle, like, just keep going. Yeah, some of us suck with our trauma and our pain, but you know what? Don't ever dim it for anybody else, because you're that inspiration that shit exists. I mean that. I didn't get that inspiration with the people who are beating my ass. I got it from you. They prefer me be a whore or a killer. So it's the same thing. It's just in different context. I appreciate you. And you know what? Happy holidays.